Texas lawmakers have given final approval to a bill that would permit Texas police officers to arrest migrants who cross into the state illegally. That's typically a job reserved for the federal government. It is currently headed to Governor Abbott's desk. Earlier tonight, I spoke with one of the state representatives carrying this bill on why he thinks it's necessary and his response to recent criticism calling the bill xenophobic and dangerous. Can you explain the bill for us in layman's terms? Is it correct to say that it gives all police officers across the entire state of Texas the ability to arrest migrants who have entered the country illegally?
Yes, it does. It has several components, one of which is provides for a state criminal offense for illegal entry into our state. So it's not what Arizona did. We can talk about that later, but kind of a show me your papers. This is where someone comes illegally, an alien crosses illegally at a place other than a lawful port of entry, and if as such they have committed a state misdemeanor offense, but they are given the opportunity to either, after they're taken to a magistrate, to either return to the country at a port of entry from where they came, or that they would be prosecuted. And at the end of that prosecution, if tried, if convicted, if there's a disposition of that case, then at the end of that, they would likewise be returned to a port of entry for in order to return to the state or the country from which they came.
Can you give examples of the type of evidence police officers would need that a person was in the U.S. illegally to justify stopping them and make that arrest?
Most of the time, I think, it's a statewide law, but I think most of the enforcement is going to be within, say, 50 miles of the border, just simply because that's where things are occurring. So typically they would observe. It would be an offense in plain view, where they would observe someone illegally crossing the river, anything like that. But police officers are trained to look to a totality of the circumstances to determine if that in fact happened. And I think worth noting is the fact that this is a misdemeanor. We're not trying to round up folks that have been here for years. That's not the purpose of Senate Bill 4 at all, because you're limited to 2 years on the limitation period there. So clearly, this would be something that would be enforced that occurred very recently.
Certainly, and I want to talk about the 2-year distinction in just a moment. So you envision this actually taking place either at the border or very close to the border, and you envision a police officer actively watching someone in the act of crossing illegally into this country, not out grocery shopping, not driving a car, not trying to gain employment.
No, and Texas is a large state, and I'm not saying that it couldn't happen where a law enforcement officer has evidence and they would have to have probable cause, and you take them to a magistrate, and the magistrate would have to have probable cause that each and every element of that offense has been met to move forward. I'm not saying that couldn't happen in Dallas, Fort Worth, or Houston, but I am saying that the most likely scenario would be that it would be at or near the border, and most of the time these officers would see them cross or would be in very close proximity to that.
I want to give you an opportunity to talk about the 2-year distinction that you brought up earlier, because you previously said this law would not apply to people who have been in the country for more than 2 years. Can you explain why you draw that distinction between those who entered illegally more recently versus more than 2 years in the past?
Well, again, we didn't want to be in conflict with federal law, and federal law provides for that same penalty range of a Class B misdemeanors up to 6 months in jail. So that's exactly what we've done here. We have not gone above that or beyond that in any respect, and so it is not. If this is not looking after someone's, trying to round up or arrest someone's grandmother that's been here for 50 years. That is not what this law is about. Anyone that's been here longer than 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, they can't be charged with this offense. It has nothing to do with that. And again, what Arizona attempted to do back in 2010 with their statute is completely distinguishable from what we've done here. We've tried to track existing federal law, and we've tried not to go beyond that in any respect.
Okay. Representative David Spiller, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.